Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. I've got just a random little video today that popped into my head and I thought I'd make it. I want to talk about authors that I am always in the mood for. And I and by always in the mood for, I mean as soon as I start reading them, I'm in the mood for them. So even if I feel like I don't fancy them at the time, as soon as I start, I'm instantly hooked within the first page. And this is very rare for me because I am a massive mood reader. So I will often finish a book and not know what I want to read next and pick up loads and loads of books, which is why I like to have lots of unread books behind me. Um, and then just try a little bit of every one and then I eventually get into something. Uh, but even some of my favourite writers, like Ursula K. Le Guin or Jane Austen, I'm not always in the mood for sci-fi or Regency romance, so they don't really work for me. But these three authors always do. Um, so I'd be interested to hear who has this effect on you as well, if you're a mood reader or even not. Um, the first one I'm going to talk about is the most well known of the three, and I'm sure almost everyone on BookTube has read this author, and that is I've got I've got big piles here, so there might be lots of crashing noises at some point. Um, Agatha Christie. So there's obviously a huge amount of Agatha Christie's fans on BookTube. Uh, Guinness World Records has her as the most read fiction writer of all time. I've got some other stats. I've got some stats. I've looked up some stats. She was born in 1890 and died in 1976, so had a great innings. Um, and she wrote 66 novels and some plays and other things as well. And very famously, uh, as the longest running play in the world, in The Mousetrap, which I have not read or seen. Um, and and her book And Then There Were None is in the top five or six novels of all time for sales. So what do I like about Agatha Christie? She's got two great characters, obviously, in Hercule Poirot and uh, Miss Marple. But I do like the other day I read The Crooked House, and that's instantly one of my favourite Agatha Christie's, and that has neither of them in it. So she has great characters, but it's more the way she sets up the plot. So almost everyone in it could be a suspect in a murder. It's usually a murder, uh, but I think she perfectly balances the line where you kind of have suspicions, but you don't know. And when the plot is revealed to you, you always think, "Oh, I could have guessed that if I'd put the pieces together myself." But so that is very hard to do. I find that very hard to do. I find that is very hard to do because lots of murder mysteries and stuff, when the plot is revealed, you think either, "Oh, I would have never got that in a million years," or "Oh, that was obvious." So to get it just right is always amazing to me, and she does it all the time. Obviously, fairly formulaic, and I think the formulaic element is probably why I get instantly into it after a few pages. Like, if she was writing experimental stuff in every single book, I don't think I would. It would be such sort of a cozy instant like for me. So that's Agatha Christie. Move these out of the way. I can't believe I didn't drop those. The next one is also English. These are all English actually. Um, and I've only got two physical books of this author, which is surprising. That is P.G. Wodehouse. Uh, I've got some stats. He was born in 1881, so 9 years before Agatha Christie, and he died in 1975, so 1 year before Agatha Christie. Another great innings. He's mostly known for his Jeeves and Wooster series, but He also has P. Smith and Blanding's Castle. He did sort of 15 or so Blanding Castle's books, 15 or so Jeeves books. But Wikipedia tells me he wrote 90 books, 40 plays, and 200 short stories. So God knows what the other books were. Um, but I'm sure there's lots of other stuff there I don't know about out there. But that's an incredibly prolific author. What do I like about P.G. Wodehouse? Um, I think he's the funniest author ever. He's hilarious, and he writes very ridiculous characters. So, to give example, his two best known and loved characters are Jeeves and Wooster. And Jeeves is he's a gentleman's valet to Bertie Wooster. Bertie Wooster's sort of a young, sort of ridiculous upper class pillock is the word an Englishman would use. He's sort of a bumbling fool, but you can't help but love him. And this is very upper class society, which I have no personal experience with. So you don't need to be sort of a rich Tory type to enjoy these books. Uh, they're just hilariously funny, and you always Jeeves will always sort out any problem that Bertie and his stupid friends get in. Uh, I also love he's an absolute master of the English language, and these are ridiculously silly books, but his use of language is as good as anyone's. His turn of phrase, he always has great little insults and things. I'm not constantly making little notes of all the funny, uh, ridiculous things he comes up with. So I would say if you have never read P.G. Wodehouse, give him a try. And as I said in my top 10 books of last year video, I think the inimitable Jeeves is a good starting place, which is technically the second book in the series, but it's basically short stories and they're all linked together. So I would give that a go, and if you don't find it hilarious, then I think you're an idiot, probably. Um, Not really. Uh, the last one I was going to talk about, the third one, uh, and maybe one day there'll be more than three authors that have this effect on me, but this is the biggest pile of books yet. This one, I think, probably would be less for everybody, and that is Patrick O'Brien. And if you're eagle-eyed, you might be able to see the bottom two of the same book that I accidentally bought twice. So I think I've done that a few times with Patrick O'Brien, because he's got this one main series called the Aubrey and Maturing series, and there's 21 of them. So, uh, and they've all got weird names, so it's easy to get them mixed up. So, Patrick O'Brien, he is the young whippersnapper of these three. He was born in 1914 and he died in the year 2000. He is most well known for these books, the Aubrey and Maturin series. He did write some other ones, but I've never read them, and I don't think they were very successful when they were before he wrote these. He is an odd character because the first one of these that came out, I don't actually even own the first one. Oh, yes, I do. So I have it in Folio Society that I'm not getting now because it's massive. Um, the first one he wrote, um, he was like 55 years old when it was published. So fame came to him sort of very late in life. Uh, and these follow a naval captain called Jack Aubrey. You may have seen Master and Commander, the movie they made out of a few of the books in the series, which is brilliant. So Jack Aubrey is sort of a big swashbuckling captain who he's based on Lord Cochrane. If you may have heard of him, he was a naval captain, and in the Napoleonic Wars, and Horatio Hornblower is also based on Lord Cochrane, but Jack Aubrey is more closely based on his life, and his friend Stephen Maturin, who is a doctor that travels with him, and Maturin is also a spy. So these novels are, although they're naval and they go into very lots of details about ropes and sails and things, you often are in Stephen's mind when they're talking about this stuff, and he doesn't know anything. He's a real landlubber, and he often falls off the side of the ship when he's trying to get in it. So you don't really need to know or even pay any attention to the naval terms. Although I find it interesting to look them up sometimes when there's stuff that sounds quite interesting. Really, this is a book about their friendship and their adventures together. Uh, Stephen is also a naturalist, so there's that element as well of them going to visit new animals and cultures and things. And it's just the best friendship in a novel I've ever in a series of novels I've ever read. They're brilliant. And Patrick O'Brien was a big Jane Austen fan, so the the land side of this is definitely very Jane Austen-y, especially the first few books. So if you like Jane Austen but don't mind a bit of action, I'd give one of these a go. It's quite hard to get into, I think, the first one. Uh, it's sort of you need to move past the naval terms, and then when you get onto the second one, there's a bit of a ridiculous plot in that involving a bear suit. And I think there, once you get through the second one, you fly through them. I just love them as soon as I pick them up. I love them. So that's it. That's the three authors that once I start reading them, I'm instantly in the mood for them. And I don't think I could. I racked my brain. I couldn't think of anyone else that does it for me. I have to be in the mood for most things, sci-fi, fantasy, even mystery. I have to be in the mood for it. But if I pick up a Christie, I'm instantly in the mood for it. If I'm not in the mood for comedy, I pick up a Jeeves and Wooster. I'm instantly in the mood for it. Um, and if I'm not in the mood for historical fiction, doesn't matter because as soon as I start being with Aubrey and Maturin, I want to hang out with them. Let me know in the comments if you love these authors as well, or if you hate them, or who has this effect on you. Have a good one, BookTube.